You can
G
need to start again.
no. GA4 and GTM also have had quite some updates this year, and we will go through them in today's video. And Alex, maybe just like a quick tidbit of the information that we'll cover.
Event exclusion GA4 BigQuery.
There you go.
Nice. That was efficient, I would say. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everybody. Today, Alex, Thomas, Ricardo, and we are going to be talking about GA4 and GTM, the latest updates of 2022. So wrapping up our series of videos that started with 2 videos on Data Studio, 1 on BigQuery, and then this one that combines the 2 of them together.
Hopefully just one video for
Yeah.
Not so sure. Not so sure.
So maybe
Let's
watch a third part of
Yes, so should we start?
yeah, let's go.
I guess so.
Yeah, so the first thing, first, we're just talking about GA4 because, or we also quickly talk about Universal Analytics due to that it stops, but that comes later. But yeah, most of the time you're just.
I think
talking about
everyone
GA4.
should now have recognized that Universal Analytics.
And then let's start with that. So
Let's start with that because then we can basically
Yeah.
check mark it and forget it forever.
Yeah, so we already talked about. We made also an own video for that. What was the name? And the end of Google
The
Analytics?
end of Universal Analytics.
is now or soon, I think.
Also,
Yeah. Yes. So Google announced, I think in April or something, May, something like that. They announced that Google Analytics, Universal Analytics, is shutting down their services mid of next year. And then, at least then, or latest then, you have to use Google Analytics 4 for that. They already developed Google Analytics for the last year's months. Yes. So I think 1st of July 2023, it shut down for the free users of Universal Analytics, and then in October the 1st for GA 360 users.
If your contract is that long, right? This is also, I think, as far as I heard, could be an issue that if your contract of Universal Analytics is ending before this 1st of October, it could also be an issue. So not 100% sure there. But as far as I know, check your contract details. Also talk to Google if the contract is ending before. Because as far as I heard, you cannot extend then the contract, obviously, for 3 months. Yeah. So this could be an important thing. Yeah. So what should people do?
Yeah, so they should now
now.
they should start tracking their website, apps, and so on, whatever they have with Google Analytics 4. It's quite easy to establish some kind, as it's also for Universal Analytics, some kind of a basic setup. That's quite easy for Google Analytics 4. For sure, then all the customs, events, configurations, and so on, that needs time. But first, basic implementation is quite easy. So start with that, and then you can progress there.
What is new? 222.
One
To come to the real point of the video, so otherwise.
Yeah, but that was also so. Maybe one more thing. You see then from there's Google a little bit not absolutely concrete, but as they say, you have then access when they're shutting down the service at least 6 months to the data. But for sure, there's no new data, but you have always still access to the old data till that date. Yes, at least 6 months. I don't know. Maybe they are checking how the people are complaining about.
Let's see.
I don't know. But yes. So what's new for GA4? The first thing was this year that they added the events exclusion list. I hope we already mentioned in the intro. From GA4 to BigQuery. So we already talked about the connection BigQuery Google Analytics 4 in another video, just with Thomas and me. And there we already talked about it. So what you can do, or what is the current status? The current status is for all free users of GA4, you have the availability to push your data in a WAR format to BigQuery, but the limit is 1 million events per day. What happens if that 1 million limit is reached? Then it cuts then the whole day no data gets pushed anymore to BigQuery, and next day it starts again. But also then the data of yesterday then, so the missing data is not getting reprocessed, not getting pushed again. So then you lose it basically. Yes, and due to that, because for sure a lot of websites, apps, and so on have more than 1 million page views, events, whatever on your website, you can exclude events. So that means, for example, some basic GA4 events like scroll events, or also some click events or video progress, video starts, and so on, are maybe not so important for you, but they, due to a website, it depends, but they are maybe not so interesting for you. So then you can say, okay, these events I don't want to push to BigQuery, and that way you can decrease the pushing data to.
And then you're not running that quick into the limits.
Yes, exactly.
The moment you have more than 1 million page views, that's then the real
That's
limit,
then the
right?
problem, yeah.
Because that's the minimum what you would like to have,
Yeah.
I guess. And there's a little bit more, like if you think about it. So if we think in terms of e-commerce companies, you probably also would like to have e-commerce events, like adding something to cart, like micro conversion events, like buying something. So yeah, I think if it's more than 500,000 page views, you're already at the limit. And then what should someone do, Alex, if he's running into the limit? Because that's already a little bit more clear now, and also a little bit new as of 22.
You mean the 360?
Yes.
Yeah. So there is now the possibility, and Google also put some more information into that, how and what are the conditions to use GA4 360. So there you have 1 billion limits of events, as far as I know, to get the data from Google Analytics to BigQuery, for example, and a lot of more stuff, more custom dimensions in GA4, more parameters, and so on and so on. Yes.
And the good thing is the pricing is now, it's not a fixed pricing as it was before, but it's now basically on ranges. And it's done in a way that you say, okay, there's the first limit with, I'm not quite sure at the moment how many page views or hits in that case, hits. How many hits is the limit for the first, let's say, tier for the pricing. And this then you pay per million hits, depending on how many hits you have for that particular month. And then you go into the next tier. So for basically the first limit, you pay also every hit or every million hit for this tier 1 pricing. And if you then have more afterwards, you go into tier 2 pricing. But the first some million hits stay basically. And that's why we don't want to explain the pricing more. So if you would like to go to a GA4 360, like check with one of the sales partners. But it's a little bit more complicated to explain that. That's why we don't try that now here in the video. But it's way better than it was with Universal Analytics, at least for the smaller companies. Yeah, for the bigger companies could also be, there are winners and losers, I would say. It's you cannot say it like that easy.
Okay. Yes. Then the next thing is the new attribution model in GA4. So for sure, you can set conversion events in Google Analytics 4. So for e-commerce, for sure, the purchase, for example. And then you can attribute your data due to sessions and so on. And you have for sure last click, you have first click, you have position based. I think time decay, I think, is also part of it. And there is now the data-driven model. The data-driven model is some kind of a black box. So you not
Yay.
so you're not sure exactly what's going on. So Google say they put some kind of a KI or AI or something like that behind. And then it looks in the data and try to estimate the best fitting model for your attribution thing behind. Yes, due to that, for all of the different shops, the data-driven model is different. So the algorithm behind, you can say, or the model behind. Yes, so that you can try out. We have not so much experience with that because we are also maybe more algorithm driven. Yes. So that's for us more important. And
the good thing with the data-driven one is that Google has, of course, all those data points, right? For view actions, for clicks, for whatever, all the micro conversions, like Google has it. That's why I would say generally, the data-driven model could be quite strong. So they have the experience in terms of AI. They have basically all the data points. So there's no, first of all, there's no doubt that this can be a strong, basically attribution model. But of course, reality shows that every company sees also their attribution a little bit different. And due to the fact it's a black box, you have no idea how it's like generated, calculated, created in terms of modeling. The issue is, are you trusting then into the results? As you also know that Google, of course, has a profit when basically Google Ads is pushed more, YouTube and so on. So I don't want to say that they are pushing their own channels. I just want to say you cannot prove it at the end. And therefore, it's also quite hard to maybe fully 100% trust.
Yeah, so we also do some attribution projects currently, right? With the GA4 war data, there are also some things which are not so good in the GA4 data, but that's maybe another topic.
Different topic.
Yes, and there, for example, right? So we then, for example, the people say who are using this attribution, why it's that, and why, for example, the influencers or something is not so good weighted as it is. Then we can say the algorithm says that and that currently. Yeah. We can change it. We can also give them some sessions to show them, okay, due to how the user or the session, getting changed during the time, we can show, okay, due to that, the attribution is like that and that.
Yes, and you are able to explain why the data is like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Then one quick thing is that for the GA4 front end, they added now a homepage. So that means, or a new homepage, let's say it like that. That means in the beginning, it's not empty, but it's quite the same for everybody. But then due to your analytics you are doing in GA4 and due to the reports you are looking at, the homepage is changing. So for example, if you always look on the acquisition part in GA4, then you also get in your homepage the most important KPIs, some charts and tables for the acquisition part. That is quite cool, I think.
Can you still change it and edit manually?
I don't think so. No.
Can be a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, on the other side, you can also just create a report, right? If you need.
Yeah. So due to all the customizations Google Analytics is offering, we still have some problems with it and some things you cannot do or data which is not really trustworthy and so on. But yeah, so you can do some customizations and hopefully Google Analytics is still improving it. But yeah, I think they're doing it the right way and have a good starting point for that. Yes, then one thing, big discussion, I think the last 2 weeks, months for European Union is that Google Analytics is always pushing the data to US servers. Also for European Union countries or customers and so on. And they now established also an infrastructure, or they use it, I don't know, also in the European Union.
So they needed to, right? There was no way around that.
Exactly. So due to GDPR and so on, they had to do it. You just have to check some policy configurations. We can put a link in the descriptions to check if the website or Google Analytics is checking that your website is in the European Union, so that you have to check. But when you set it one time, then the data from you is stored in the EU, which is quite cool.
Yes. Things also, we mentioned it already, sometimes it's also a topic of itself, I would say, right? Where you can fill easily 20, 40, 60 minutes of content. Maybe think about that. We are no lawyers. That's critical talk to give, I would say. But on the other side, it's hands-on use cases, and knowing 80% is probably more than... So the more you know about that topic, the better it is. But of course, it's always critical when it's about legal topics.
Yes. Then let's also quickly talk about GTM, because Google Analytics 4, the most important stuff is done. So they have some other stuff, but as we said, we're already discussing the topics which are for us at least the most important one, and we have at least a little bit experience with. Yes, there are also some things for GTM. To be honest, I'm a little bit... I think they don't push that GTM topic so much, especially due to that they have now this whole server-side tracking. But yeah, there are some changes, and also some changes which are not so good, I would say. But yeah, so they cannot keep up the pace with Data Studio, for example, or even Google Analytics 4. Yes. For example, one thing they added, and this is quite good, and the good thing for server-side tracking is that you can now load your client-side scripts in your own domain. So you have your server-side server you have on your own domain. So if you have website xyz.com, whatever, then you have your tracking server, for example, on insights.xyz.com, for example, that you're always on first-party level. But usually you have still a client-side script running on your website, due to that you can then access the website, tracking button clicks, and so on and so on, and that you cannot do in server-side. But that client-side script and all the transformations and so on was still on Google side, and that they changed now. So you just have to change in the GTM script you're pushing to your website. You don't have to put there in the URL for the tracking. You don't have to put Google Tag Manager.com or something like that. Now you're putting there your own domain, first-party domain into it, or subdomain.
Big cool thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
big
have to say that. Think about what kind of subdomain you are using. Don't call it tracking at xyz.com. Yeah. Think about a cool name like abc.xyz.
Or a cool insider
Yeah.
joke or whatever.
Something you really like, or take an animal or something like that. Be creative.
Yes. Then another thing is that they have now, and that is also a cool thing to show the strength of the server tracking, I would say, is that you can now access data from the Firestore API. So Firestore is, I think, the biggest transactional database in the whole Google Cloud, or at least one of them. And there, for sure, you can have transactional data, so operative data inside in the cloud. Yes, and for example, so let's take one example: a user doing a purchase on your website, and then all the data, so order, so for sure order ID, especially, also all the items, the revenue, the sale, the quantities, and so on, gets all published just to your transactional database. So because there, for sure, you need it. And to your data layer, for example, so where you push the data to GTM, there you just put the order ID inside. And what you're doing then you push the data to your server-side endpoint, and then you get all the other data from your Firestore API, which is quite cool. So you just need to push the order ID, then you send a request from your Google server side to your Firestore API, and that Firestore API gives you all the other informations, like, as I said, items, revenue, quantities, and so on and so on, customer information, whatever you need. Yes, I also quickly checked, because for sure the data layer should be maybe a little bit more faster than the Firestore API, or could be. What happens then? But then it waits. So it's waiting till all the information it needs. I don't know, maybe there is some kind of a, they say, okay, yeah, so, and also some kind of limit. Okay, now it says, okay, now I send it out, even if I don't have all the informations. But it's waiting, so it's, yes, so that you have all the data. And that is a cool thing, and also to show the strength of server side. Yeah, and then just one thing, I just want to mention it. I also could just mention it in the blog post. So Google also said now that I just do a quotation for server-side tracking. They may now collect aggregated data. They may use this data
May now collect aggregated
to
data.
improve,
Like that wording.
maintain, protect, and develop the service, and they will not share the data with other Google products without the consent. Hopefully also not with other services.
Didn't say that. Up for discussion.
Yes, so just to say it and to be completely free here. Yes, so just to say it.
We're not paid by Google.
Exactly. Yes, I think that's it. Quite a time.
That's
Really
almost
good.
it.
Almost.
Yes.
So who should do it?
I think Thomas should do it again.
Okay.
What? You said you give it back to... Okay, good. So whenever you would like to know more about the whole topic, Alex is writing, and also the whole team, fantastic blog posts. We have updates every month for GCP, GCP products, Data Studio, GA, GTM. We do newsletters. Check out the other videos. There's plenty of content waiting for you. Subscribe if you like. And what did I forget?
LinkedIn, maybe?
Okay, but last time you didn't mention LinkedIn. Good. LinkedIn, go to LinkedIn. Also, a lot of cool things. Instagram, we are on every channel. Good. Something else? Thank you
Have
for
a nice day.
Bye.
viewing. See you. Bye.